Hello and a very good evening. Welcome to the DAREACT conversation series powered by the Grey Matter. Our guest joining today is Deepti Sherawat. Deepti is a lawyer turned therapeutic nutritionist and a lifestyle coach. She's also an internationally certified yoga teacher. So let's invite Deepti and together unravel her journey from practice of law to practice of wellness. Hi Deepti, welcome to DAREACT. I am not able to hear you.
1 second. Am I audible now?
Okay, no. Yes, loud and clear.
Perfect.
How are you doing today?
Good, good. Very well. Just finished with a couple of yoga classes for school kids and sessions on nutrition. So pumped up.
Fantastic. Well, we're very thrilled to have you with us today, and we hope you're too.
Fine. Yeah, absolutely looking forward to it. I'm sure you can see it on my face. Really excited.
I'm not sure if it's the DAREACT glow or if it's the yoga glow.
Both, trust me, both put together. It's really, really nice to be on the platform because I've been following you guys for a while and it's just lovely the kind of questions you ask. And I think you just bring another level of energy to the interviews that you do with your dimples and nice hair. I think it just takes it to
You
the
just
next
made
level.
my day. Can I please say that I practice yoga and I think it's the yoga glow on my face.
I'm sure.
So, Deepti, tell us what made you choose law back then. It's a world apart from, what you do now.
Right. Okay, so I'll be very honest. I think as school students, we aren't very sure of what we really want to do in life going forward. Of course, a lot is governed by how much you're scoring, how well you're doing, what sort of a family you belong to. So I come from a family of really studious parents and elder sister, and the whole khandan is such that they're all full of toppers and people who score really well. So I was that kid too who would just score well in school and had to take a particular stream and had to do some professional course. So I think it was in my 11th or 12th standard that I started realizing that after my commerce with maths, the only thing that people would opt for would be like they would wait to get through a very, very good college in Delhi University or somewhere in Bombay University and do their regular BCom honors, eco honors. And somehow that was just not thrilling for me at all. One thing that did intrigue me and interested me a lot, and I may sound a little juvenile when I say that, was the whole idea of my lord and going to the court and arguing. And, as a kid, you think that's exactly how the real legal world is too, that you would get to go to the court and argue for 20 minutes and, make statements and get the limelight and whatnot. That is what inspired me to take up law. It was a slightly last moment decision. I would say towards the fag end of class 12th is when I decided that I wanted to pursue law as my career. But yes, I think that's how it started. And one thing that I'm happy about is that I think I was loyal to that dream for the longest time. Even through 5 years of law school, all my internships were always centered around some sort of disputes resolution or litigation practice. Not once did I take up any corporate internship. So yes, I think that was the dream when I started out in law school.
Very well. So, you did your law from Christ University and then you went ahead and got a position as a law clerk at the Delhi High Court. Rightly so, you just mentioned that, your internships were primarily around dispute resolution. How did you narrow down on that field of law? And that is so young.
So yeah, so like I said initially, see, as a 16, 17-year-old, you don't really have an idea what a lawyer's life is like apart from the conventional idea of going to court and arguing matters. And that is what really excited me. Of course, through law schools, slowly you mature and you realize, okay, it's not just about that. There is corporate law and there are so many other streams within the legal stream that one can go for, right? And uh, it's not that I never thought of pursuing an internship or to figure out if I wanted to do something in corporate law. But there's always, and I'm somebody who always goes by her heart. So I just knew that this whole concept of sitting and on a table and working on your laptop all day long between papers and not doing anything which requires you to be out there and do something physically was never exciting. So that's how I think. So again, it had so a lot of people would take very smart and intelligent decisions about, where they see themselves 5 years from the time they decide to start out in the career, or what is the kind of law that they would like to practice, as a particular subject that they would be passionate about. For me, it was honestly none of that. It's just I knew that I wasn't going to sit on a table for 12 hours and have a fat tummy after 7 years of practice as a corporate lawyer. I had to be moving around and doing something which had a lot more charm and energy involved in it. So that's how I think I was sure that litigation. Plus, I feel in litigation there's a lot of human touch in a way that's involved. You would feel like you're dealing with live cases. You're affecting lives very, very directly, right? Because of the kind of matters that you may choose to take up. So yes, I think that's how I was pretty sure that this is what I wanted to do.
Very well. And so when and how did yoga come into picture?
How did yoga come in? I'm sorry, did you ask me that earlier? No, you asked me about litigation only, right? The previous question. Okay. So yoga happened 2013. I graduated, 1.5 years of practice, a little over 1.5 years, in fact, almost close to 2 years. And I had met with an accident because of which I hurt my sternum. Yeah, that's the bone on your chest. And there was a little bit of difficulty breathing. And I was advised medically to stay away from anything too strenuous mentally or physically for a while. So they said 15, 20 days, take it easy. And that also happened to be the time when my clerkship had just gotten over, was at the brink of getting over. So I knew this was the right time. It's not that I had already started a new job. So I was anyway figuring out what I wanted to do next. And I thought, why not, instead of staying at home and getting bored, utilize this time in doing something interesting. And I think yoga again was something interesting because I've seen this for 2 generations before me. My mom's been a practitioner. My grandmother is a national level yoga champion. So
Wow.
except not that I thought of taking it up professionally. I never wanted to be a yoga teacher, but I thought, okay, I'm not going to stay at home. It's a sabbatical. Let me just go figure out what the yoga world is like for the next 1 month. I'll stay in an ashram. I'll have a nice diet, and I'll live a very sattvic life. But that 1 month, so they say, right, in the same environment, two people can get affected very, very differently. I think more than the practice of asanas, which is what yoga is famous for, the whole theory that I was exposed to actually impacted me very, very deeply. For the first time in my life, I was exposed to a world which was over and above performing well in life, competition, doing well professionally, right? All of these usual things that we talk about. And I realized there exists something over and beyond that. And it was such a strong feeling that I came back after my teacher's training course, which was actually only to refine my own practice. And I told my folks that, listen, this is how it is. This is how I feel. I'm sorry. I know both of you are going to get mini heart attacks, but I need 10 months to a year. That will be my gestation period. I'll either make it. If I don't make it as a yoga teacher, I'm going to come back into law. So let me do this. And my parents were supportive. With a little bit of friction in the beginning, they allowed. And I think that's how I went on to become a full-fledged, full-time yoga teacher.
So in your teacher's training course, clearly that was the transitioning point. Tell us some most cherished memories from that experience.
You mean as a while I was in the course, while I was pursuing my TTC, teacher's training?
Yeah.
See, of course, while even when you're practicing postures, different postures have different effects on your body, right? For women, for example, we actually hold a lot of our emotions in our chest area, shoulder area, and the hips area. So when you're doing backward bends, you're doing things which are opening up these portions. You sometimes, it's not that it's going to happen every time, but once in a while you experience an inexplicable release of sorts. You know that, some things just opened up inside. You just feel happy for no rhyme or reason. For some people, they actually end up breaking down. So we've seen those instances as well. So I think I did have a couple of those experiences, but of course you don't really talk about it because anybody in general would say, okay, this is all tosh, you can't really put this in words. There's no science behind it. And it's true. There's no science behind it on paper as on date. So I think those moments in my asana classes, and even during theory classes, we had philosophy classes where, the teacher would talk about how it's not by fluke that a batch of 200 students from so many countries across the world, 200, or I think it was about 150 students had landed there together. He said it's there got to be a reason why you're here at a particular point of time, getting exposed to what you're getting exposed to and how you're feeling, the way you're feeling. So don't take it for granted. Take it to the next level and just let things go. And I realized that was so true. I needed that sort of a release, because as much as I knew that I could be a good lawyer, I wasn't really ever going to enjoy the process of being a lawyer, because I think I was always meant to do something which had to do with people. I wouldn't even call it fitness. I would say wellness and happiness directly. I don't know why and where it came from. So yeah, those were the moments that made it more and more clear to me that, though that 1 month was actually to open me up completely and become fearless about wanting to pursue this. So yes, I would say these two.
Beautiful. And I resonate so much with it because when you do it's called Yin Yoga, when you hold postures for a longer period of time. I've specifically experienced releases around my hip area. And they
Yes,
actually say that there are emotions and energies locked there, and you hold it for a while, and then you suddenly feel like that muscle's relaxed on its own. So yeah,
absolutely.
thank you for
Exactly. So
sharing.
with the muscles relaxing, there's actually a lot more relaxation that's happening, and it's nice to know that you hold postures for a change, because most people that I come across want fat loss and they want power yoga, so nobody is holding postures. They just made it into another fitness gimmick. So that beauty of yoga also ends up getting lost when you're not holding the postures.
True. Fair. Okay, so how did you transition from lawyering to actually, teaching yoga full time? Was it like you went back and then in that gestation period, you decided, okay, you know what, Tata, goodbye law, and, here is it, I'm the yoga teacher? Or was it like a gradual process? How did you plan your career transition?
Okay, this is a very interesting question. See, there are two aspects to it. One is what you feel like doing. Number two is, can you really afford to do that? And the fact that you can afford to take a tough decision at a time when you really want to do something is not a coincidence. It means it's then just a matter of little bit of courage and acting on it. What do I mean by that? Tomorrow, instead of Deepti, there could have been another girl who would have been equally passionate about it, but may not have had that sort of financial security coming from family or that support, and maybe she wouldn't have been able to do it. What I realized was that I was coming from a family where my parents were really broad minded. Of course, they were a little taken aback because they said 5 years of law and suddenly what's wrong with you? But then overall, they were like, it's okay. You want to take a year? It's fine. We know you can come back. So number one, the first factor that I saw was clearly I wanted to do something, but then you are young and you may just end up taking immature decisions that, oh, now this is, I am passionate, I want to do it, but it could turn out to be a bit of a disaster later. Happens with people. We can't say that, people don't take drastic decisions and ruin a couple of years of their lives at least. So for me, I think it was passion combined with the fact that I saw that even if I don't make too much money for the next couple of years, you know what, I'm taken care of. I have parents who are financially, who are going to be able to support me. I don't have that kind of pressure of getting married or having to earn a lot. Thirdly, my attitude in general has been such that, I'm not somebody who needs too many things or too many shopping items or shoes or clothes to be happy. All of that put together set that perfect environment for me to start experimenting. Having said that, of course, I had to be careful because there will always be that teeny weeny fear that, what if it doesn't work out the way you're thinking it should? Because there's so many yoga teachers all over the city. Then what next? So then what I knew was I had to maintain that little bit of balance, like hold on to something. I knew I had to get into this, but hold on to what I had graduated in, yet start taking baby steps. And I think that's how Vahura happened, because I went to Vahura as a candidate and went and openly told them, listen, I have just about 2 years, a little less than 2 years of experience in the field of law as a lawyer. I mean, as a practicing lawyer, and I'm looking for an in-house position because that will, I think, give me the liberty to do something in terms of conducting classes morning and evening, because I want to do a 9 to 5 job, and this can't happen in litigation. So I just knew I had to be honest, because otherwise you just get caught later. You say something very smartly and it comes out. And they were really sweet about it. And they said, okay, we'll do the best that we can. But they told me clearly, you're way too young in terms of, you're green. You don't have that kind of experience. Nobody is going to come to us for somebody with just 1.5 years of experience. So why don't you? Yeah, the very next day they called me and said, why don't you we think you may just be a fit in one of our teams internally, so why don't you join us instead? and what you're looking for, that freedom of conducting classes or weekends off, being able to focus on yoga, we fully support you through that. And I think they did that. So I ended up working with Bahura for that 1 year. And like I said, it's not just about passion. You see how things begin to open up. Just then, within a kilometer from the mall where the office was, there was a new yoga studio that was opened by my teacher, and he couldn't travel all the way from Gurgaon, and he said, I need somebody to full time manage it. So of course it got exhausting with a new job plus conducting classes, but I got to do what I thought I always wanted to do. The first challenge was where was I going to get my clients from? And there, just a kilometer away, was a new, beautifully done studio where I could conduct classes morning, evening, pre-work, post-work, and yeah, things just started falling in place. So this is how the transition happened. I would say I didn't completely jump from the stream. Of course, I wasn't practicing law, but then I kept in touch with the fraternity to quite an extent, right? I was engaging with candidates, I was engaging with clients who were, I knew that if 2 years, 1.5 years down the line, I had to go back and say, okay, listen, I need to restart, I would have somebody who would take me back in and say, why don't you start again as a lawyer? So yes, that cushioning was always there. And I think ideally that's the best way to go about it, especially if you're coming from a middle class family and you are not very sure of what life would look like 2 years, 3 years down the line from the time you take the decision to change careers. So this was a soft transition that happened. And 1 year later, I got into it completely because by then clientele had developed and I had enough and more classes running to sustain me as a full-time, with yoga as a full-time profession.
What a beautiful serendipity, just like what Neha mentioned. Imagine,
Yeah.
Neha, you read my mind. But yeah, it's like setting an intention and like, when you're clear with what you want, I think things kind of make their way through and, your path kind of gets paved on its own. Yeah, beautiful. So, lawyers are often reluctant to network and put themselves out there. Uh, did you face something similar or was it easy to kind of build your clientele?
Put myself out there in the profession that I chose later, you mean, like as a lawyer and as a nutritionist?
Yes.
Are you again asking in terms of the compensation or having the discussion around commercials, or even in terms of advertising myself as this new person in this
in terms of advertising yourself, in terms of saying, hey, I'm Deepti and I'm a certified yoga instructor and here are my classes, things like that. Were you hesitant, reluctant, or was it very easy for you to be like, okay, I'm going to market myself?
I don't know if it has something to do with being a lawyer by a qualification or training or not, but I think, yes, I was like that. Now I've worked on it and I think maybe I'm not like that as much, but at that point of time, yes, I do. Even with Instagram, I think it's something I became active on only about a year back or a year and a half back, right? And if you see a lot of my posts, I'm not out there advertising myself and saying, hey, come get my package, you're going to benefit, right? So and somehow, Shreya, so beautifully, it's just worked out well for me, because despite not doing this, word of mouth or somebody in need, from somewhere, things and business has just flown in. It was true even while I was practicing only as a yoga teacher, and it continues to stay true even now when I'm working as a nutritionist. And around commercials, of course, what I realized, see, in the beginning, you are a little conscious because you don't want to be perceived as a particular kind of individual who's looking for money. But then ultimately, we're doing whatever we're doing also because we want to earn money, right? So then, slowly, I think with practice, that confidence came, and I realized that this is something I don't have to be afraid or shameful of. I'm very, very comfortable with what I charge, and it is a very upfront conversation that I have with clients. But when I started out, yes, it was a difficult thing to put myself out there, advertise, and say, okay, pay for my services.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that experience. Deepti, why don't you educate us a little bit about what clinical nutrition means and how did you ended up venturing into the world of nutrition and diet?
Okay. So, clinical is, as the name suggests, something to do with, like, you have medical clinics. So anything which has to do with any therapeutic or rather metabolic condition or bodily condition, if it's a disorder or a disease of sorts, and with your dietary changes, lifestyle changes, you're trying to tackle that because you want to wean off medication or you want to, sort of tone it down. that's where the role of a therapeutic nutritionist or a clinical nutritionist comes into the picture. So then you're not just playing the fat loss game. You're not only dealing with people who are looking at, reducing a couple of inches or reducing that belly. You're dealing with people who come with a lot of hormonal disorders, hypothyroidism, diabetes, infertility. I mean, there's no limit to the kind of issues that we have today. So that is where clinical or therapeutic nutrition comes into the picture. And I'm sorry, your second question was?
How did you end up in the nutrition and diet
Yes.
world?
Yes. So then in 2018, when I had my own yoga studio in Gurgaon, I'm sorry, I think there's a bit of a background noise behind me. Yep.
It's completely
So when I had my own yoga studio, I realized that a lot of, especially women who were coming to me, they were all in their 20s and had some sort of hormonal issue or the other, because most of them had sedentary jobs, or just in general didn't get time to exercise. So even after after attending the classes, they would just generally ask me, listen, can you also suggest what I should be eating, what I should be having for breakfast, what should my dinner be like, or these are the problems that I face. That was the time that I just knew offhand that, okay, this is how it works, because those are practices that I still follow myself, about what restrictions need to be, or what sort of meals should one be eating through the day. And I started giving that offhand, that advice, just like a friendly advice. And I realized people were getting massive results. Someone's losing 6 kg, someone's losing 9 kg, someone's energy levels are coming back up. And I was like, wow. And it's a very nice feeling when you see that transformation happen right in front of your eyes within 3 months or 2 months time, right? That's when I realized that, okay, I need to take this a step ahead and get myself qualified in this. And the next decision was to enroll for a 1 year diploma in dietetics and nutrition, which again, it's divided into 2 semesters. One is your general nutrition related education, and the second semester is specifically talks about disorders, or organ wise, what are the issues that people face, let's say with the liver, with the kidneys, with the heart, and based on that condition, what is the kind of food that you should be looking at incorporating in their diet. Now that was also, I thought, a little basic, so I wanted to take it one step even further. That's when I enrolled for this fellowship in clinical nutrition, which was basically actually meant for practicing doctors. So I had to request that entire team to let me, and I told them I hold a diploma. It's not just a 3 months, certification or something that I'm coming to you with. I've attended classes. I've sat in a proper classroom with the teacher for 12 months, and then I've come with this certification. So please allow me to. So they had a meeting. Next day they called me. They said, okay, fine, we'll take you on board. So that's how the fellowship in clinical nutrition happened, which I think equipped me even further to take care of clients who were in very, very serious medical, or undergoing medical treatment, or had serious hormonal disorders.
Wow. So in terms of your clientele base as on date, is it more of, your clients come primarily for weight loss in terms of, using techniques of yoga, or it's more on the clinical nutrition side? Like,
Yeah.
what
So,
is the demand?
I think that this transition happened in 2018-19. As much as, though I started out as a yoga teacher after law, uh, eventually now I would say 90% of my time actually only goes in conducting nutrition counseling sessions and preparing diet charts for people. And only about 10% is related to yoga. How the yoga knowledge is coming in handy is because there is nothing like you correct one aspect of your life and you're fine. If somebody's coming to me with diabetes, just fixing their food is not going to give them the kind of results that fixing their food plus their exercise plus incorporation of certain postures that are particularly working on the pancreas, which is where the insulin is secreted, right? Which is how the whole diabetes game starts. So you incorporate all of that, and that's when you actually see magic happen, like medications coming down from 1000 mg to 500 mg to 250 mg, and over a period of time, some people with willpower completely get weaned off medication as well. So what I call myself is a therapeutic nutritionist and a lifestyle coach, because the idea is to work on all these aspects together and not just on yoga.
Wow, it's so interesting, and it's amazing how everything is interlinked. I think we'll have to do another session with you just on this topic, because lots to learn from there. Tell us, in
No
what
worries.
ways have your lawyering skills helped you in building your career in the wellness space?
So again, this is a very interesting question because there are times when my mom actually looks at me and says, "What did you exactly do in 5 years of law school? And do you think you're even using any of this today?" And I tell her that you will not believe me, but I think I am, because it's not just about the law that you learn there technically. You actually get a very strong personality. Your confidence level is at a different level altogether. If you've taken your 5 years seriously in some way, you don't have to be very, very good with academics in that sense. But I think in my case, I was mooting very regularly. So I was, I think almost every year I was part of some moot court competition at national level or the other. So I think the kind of skills that I developed in the process of conducting or learning to do the research, even going out there and speaking as a speaker out of the team of 3 members, all of that put together has definitely, and the kind of people I met, I think a lot of my batchmates are doing really, really well today. And today, when I think about it, I think it's the interaction with those great minds at that point of time. Everything put together has shaped me in a way where in 2008, when I had just graduated from school, I wouldn't call myself as at that time. I don't think I was as impressive or sharp as I would be today if I were to watch myself in the mirror. So it's definitely shaped my personality and character in a lot of ways. And I wouldn't want to take or reverse or change those 5 years in any way from my life.
So beautifully put. No degree goes waste.
Absolutely.
So, for lawyers specifically have really busy schedules, and it often leads to little or no exercise, with not too much attention being paid to, your diet, and even, exercise and diet primarily, leading to a lot of health issues, which is fairly common amongst lawyers. Do you have any simple tricks, tips that, perhaps can help us to start with the journey of, kind of taking care of ourselves?
Very, very good question. Very pertinent, Shreya, because I just happen to have a lot of lawyer clients with me because I come from the industry. And the moment they realized, okay, she's transitioned, they came in as clients. And you're right, this is the main issue that we face. Apart from a lot of stress, hardly any sleep, lots of sitting hours at a stretch, very bad diet habits. It's like anything, whatever is around, you end up binging on that. Um, so it's going to be different for different kinds of lawyers. Corporate lawyer will have a different challenge as compared to a litigating lawyer. So litigating lawyer is going to be in the court or running across fora and may not have the kind of convenience that a corporate lawyer may have in terms of having access to a refrigerator and planning their day in advance and having a couple of bowls ready in the fridge. Then it's just about saying an excuse me, getting up, going, getting your snack and coming back and rejoining your meeting. Litigating lawyer may not be able to do as much, but can they plan their snacks and what they're going to munch on when they start feeling famished while waiting for a matter to arrive? Of course they can. Ultimately, even if you're not having timely meals, let's say because it's not in your hands when the matter gets called out, when you have to run to the, you always have a pocket, you always have a bag which you're going to keep in the men's or the women's room. You are going to decide what you keep in that bag. You can store a couple of nuts, you can store some fruits, you make sure you're equipped in such a way that when hunger strikes, it's not that plate of chola bhatura in the canteen or something, a huge glass of cold coffee that ends up tempting you and you begin to give in. You need to know that when I'm hungry, there's something right there ready. Just do it for 7 days. Just choose to only pick things from your bag, and there is no reason why you're not going to feel better. So most lawyers who come to me have chronic acidity related issues or migraine related issues that I see. Acidity ultimately stems from a lot of stress and very erratic eating patterns. So I think planning your snacks in advance and making sure you have to make it a mental rule that I'm not going to enter the canteen. I will decide what I'm going to eat and I'm going to get it with me. Most of us are earning well enough to have a house help if we are not really living in a family setup who can help us with a little bit of snack preparation which we can carry the next day. So if you prioritize it, plan it well, carry your own food, it's absolutely something that you can change and you'll be able to reap the benefit. Number one. Number two, I would say, I think increasing their step count, especially with Zoom meetings and whatnot coming up. So this is something, in fact, I'm going to be doing a couple of a series on. I think it's a change that has to happen at organization level. So most of people who are enrolled with me today are coming from tier one, tier two law firms. And one common problem that I find across the legal fraternity, which I'm sure is there with other professions as well, is meeting after meeting on video with absolutely no breaks or just like 2 minutes off or something. An employee thinks about something as a priority only when everybody else around him, including the boss or the colleagues, talking about it. Everybody wants to talk about fat paychecks. Everybody wants to talk about kisne kitna bonus banaya, who's got what sort of clients. So that's what you're constantly thinking about. You never think about how sitting for more than 45 minutes in a row or 1 hour in a row is a huge issue for the body in the long run, right? But when the HR, the senior management, they start to make this a priority and say, okay, we are going to make it a rule that, there will not be 2 meetings back to back without a 15-minute break. And we're going to ask our employees to meet X as the number of steps every day as a matter of rule, which has to be reported to the HR. I think this massive change in the fraternity is not going to happen because people don't realize it till the time the doctor puts them on that pill and says, "Aapko puri zindagi antacids khana hai, aapko puri zindagi Thyronorm for your thyroid, or you are on a metformin for diabetes for the rest of your life," right? So I think this change will happen when everybody at senior level also gets involved and they chalk out a plan. Just like this, they have strategies, financial goals. They need to have health.
Yeah. So well put, Deepti. It's like how culture is the hot topic of discussion amongst the management these days. I think the day is not far away where wellness will also be taken into consideration, because if you're not healthy, how long can you stretch yourself mentally? And a good health is directly proportional to productivity. So beautifully put, and thank you so much for sharing that. Um, do you have any piece of advice for law students or lawyers who may be unsure about the law and been through advice? One is, yeah, definitely you spoke about financial security, but anything beyond that?
Just a second. I don't know if but I'm your voice is breaking and the video is also a little too blurred. Should I rejoin or something?
Deepti? I'm not sure whose network is it, but it could be mine as well. Am I audible?
Yes, but still the voice is breaking a bit.
No,
Okay,
this is such a
Aneha is
great
also saying
chat.
Shreya, you're breaking.
Okay, how about now?
I think audio quality is improved. Video quality is still a little blurred, but I think I can hear your sentences now.
Okay, so any piece of advice for lawyers who may be unsure about the practice of law and want to pursue yoga full time? So one, you spoke about financial security in the beginning. Anything apart from that?
Again, very good question. And I actually come across a lot of such people, and I can see it in their eyes when they look at me that they want to do something, they want to get out of what they are in. It's not that they're not doing well, but they're surely not enjoying the process. So somebody wants to get into baking, somebody else may want to get into something else, and they realize what their passion is, but they're unsure because, uh, firstly, you get used to a particular kind of paycheck at the end of every month, and letting go of that, especially when you are taking care of your own finances, you're not with folks, and you have a rent to pay and you have your basic expenses to meet. It's definitely not an easy decision. Just passion sometimes may not be enough. So obviously, however, having said that, that's the most important aspect. Number one, you need to be very, very sure that you actually want to do that, and then give yourself a timeline. That, for example, when I started out, I told myself 10 months I'm going to try and see how I do, and I'll be fearless about it. What is going to happen? At max, I fail. I have experience. I'll come back. People who've been in the profession for 4 5 years should be even more fearless, because they will be even more desirable if at all they want to come back. So one is to convince yourself and tell yourself that even if things do not work out, if I join the fitness fraternity or whichever industry you want to enter and not be a lawyer anymore, number one, passion. Number two, explain it to yourself, put it down on a piece of paper, and be sure that, even if this does not work out, I will always have the option of contacting my colleague, my ex-boss, or whoever, and they'll be happy to take me back, or to arrange for, some way by which I can re-enter the profession. That brings in a lot of security in your head, and then you can fearlessly go out and start pursuing what you want to, without being scared of, because there comes a phase where you may feel like, oh my God, this is gone, and the next one's not picking up at the pace I thought it would pick up. I was in that situation where I was perhaps making 10,000, 15,000 rupees a month for a couple of months. But then I knew that till the time it was going to fall within the 10 months bracket, I wasn't going to be affected by it in any way. And then things obviously looked up. So passion, little bit of planning, of course. Have a knee-jerk reaction in terms of suddenly deciding, okay, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to leave. Going to, shift careers to something else. It has to be a bit of a slow transition. Just like I had that strategy where I thought, okay, I'm going to keep doing something which has to do with law, at least for a couple of hours a day. I think whoever is in the industry can choose to do that. Now, this is a transparent talk that needs to happen with your boss or somebody else with whom you can have that arrangement, that you're not going to put in as used to, but you're not mentally prepared to completely get out of the profession. So you'll still be there, X amount of money to be arranged every month, but most of your time is going to go into the new venture that you're going to be part of. And I think slowly, if you have that discipline, you have that passion, everything put together starts to fall in place. Worst case scenario, it doesn't. You may just realize, oh my God, I'm actually not as passionate as I thought I was about it. This also happens. After 12 months, you may realize that it was actually a false alarm. I thought I want to get out of it, but actually no, I don't want to do my own business. I'm better off as an employee. You can always come back. So I think fearlessness and having that courage comes by having that self-talk and sorting it out for yourself, that even if this does not work out, X is my fallback option and I'm going to come back to it. Then you don't have to, oh my God, colleagues would be at a high level. They would have surpassed me and, they'd be working at better positions. If you don't have fears like that, you can be, there's a different game that you're going to play in the new career that you choose.
I think we need to take this advice bit like a snippet. We need to take this out from the video and put it separately. It was so on point, Deepti, and it comes straight from the heart, and it's so obvious it's coming straight from the heart because it's extremely authentic, every word that you said. And one very interesting point, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Okay, we've lost your voice again, Shreya.
Is it better now? I'm trying to move towards the Wi-Fi. Okay, so
I think now it's better.
You made a very interesting point where you said the longer number of years you've stayed in the legal field, the more desirable you are. The conditioning is that it's smarter to leave earlier and make a transition than to leave later. However, the way you put it right now, it made so much more sense that if you've given a certain number of years to a profession, the profession is not going anywhere. So the higher chances of you having that plan B still available for you. So thank you so much for giving that perspective, Deepti. It's very, very enlightening.
Thank you so much, Rhea. And also, I feel that this is dependent on, sometimes you can't plan when you're going to shift out, because it's a feeling that comes from inside. For somebody, it may come 15 years into the profession. For somebody like me, it came 1.5 years, 2 years into the profession, that this is not something I'm going to be happy doing. But I know a lot of people who've spent that kind of time and now they're pretty sure they don't want to do this. But then the second challenge is, see, when I left the profession, I wasn't making a lot of money. So I didn't have to let go of a particular paycheck, right? Which honestly was a huge burden taken off, which a lot of people have to face when they're used to X amount of money coming in. Then for 2 years or for the gestation period when you may not be financially doing very well, to accept that as part of your change of career may be a bit of a problem. But then that feeling of wanting to change also, unfortunately, fortunately, came in only after 5 years of spending time in the profession. So I think this is something that we can't decide. It's a feeling that comes from inside, but whenever it does, then what you do about the feeling in terms of planning and being courageous is, I think, what determines how well you're going to be able to do in the next career that you choose.
Fair, well said. Okay, so my last question to you is, would you be open to offering your experience and knowledge to our beloved Grey Matter community? And if yes, what is the best way to reach you?
Absolutely. Why not? And when you say the community, you mean everybody who watches all the lovely interviews that you put out there, yeah? Yes, of course. I think it's always a pleasure working with lawyers also because I understand the industry very closely since I've been part of it, and I have a lot of close friends who are still practicing lawyers. So I have literally first-hand experience of what is the kind of problem that they face, things that are in their hands and things that are just absolutely in their hands. So I'm definitely available on Instagram. In fact, I've put out my WhatsApp and contact number as well. Anybody can reach out to me through direct message on Instagram or WhatsApp me. In case I do not pick up the call, just leave a message and I'll revert. So this, I think I can contribute this one. If there's anything else that you would like me to do in terms of maybe a specific session with in terms of health for lawyers, foods, etc., happy to do that as well.
Surely coming your way. I'll be messaging you separately after this session. Thank you so much, Deepti, for joining us today. And what a lovely conversation it has been, and what a lovely time spent it has been, that too on a Friday evening. So thank you once again. And we wish you all the very best and have a great weekend. And thank you, everyone
Thank
else who's
you.
watching. Have a
Thanks a
great
lot,
weekend.
Shreya, and thank you so much for having me over. I had a lovely time interacting with you.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.